we are back. Just in time for spooky season, we are going to be talking about black cat energy. People love to talk about this in the space of dating and relationships, and I want to deconstruct it a bit. First of all, I overall would say it's a terrible tactic because it is kind of a tactic at this point. I will read the definition. Well, not the definition, but some things about it because there's a lot here. It talks about the key principles. We'll go over those, and then later it gets into what I'm talking about, which is the part where it really gets into being unhealthy. So key principles are, acting like kind of like a cat or black cat, is independence, a strong sense of self-reliance, inner happiness, not needing to seek constant opinions or validation from others. That in itself, pretty good, right? Mystery, not oversharing personal details, allowing life to unfold, creating allure. Okay, that's a little... keeping others intrigued. So, yeah, the first part of that, I would be like, yeah, but then there's this creating allure and keeping others intrigued. It sounds like a little bit of work there. That sounds weird. Maybe manipulative. Confidence, knowing your value, moving with ease and assurance, embodying a self-possessed demeanor. Oh, self-possessed. Yeah, I get it. All right. I think we get what that's saying. And then self-love, prioritizing your own well-being, growth, and fulfillment, which naturally attracts others to you. Yeah, I would agree with that. That principle. Okay. In general, yes. Here is where I'm like, how to embody black cat energy. The chased, not the chaser. Okay. Ew. That was me dropping my phone on purpose because I'm ewed out about that. Nobody should be chasing anybody, in my opinion. I think there needs to be a somewhat equal exchange of energy back and forth in order to create a relationship, whether it's a friendship, a romantic relationship. Now, black cat, golden retriever energy, these two things coming together. It's like the golden retriever chasing after the black cat. Most people who have looked up any of this information knows what it's talking about. It's gamey type tactics. There is a YouTuber named Margarita Nazarenko that I actually love, and I'll link her below. She does have some good insights into this, and I think she kind of focuses a little bit more on the good aspects overall. I do find her videos kind of fun when she talks about that. She does have a lot of value to offer in the things she talks about, and it's really a lot of it's helping to build people's self-esteem. And so that's one thing. And I think that when we're talking about black cat energy coming from that standpoint about being strong in yourself and all of those kind of things, yes, that's great. And yes, that does attract other people naturally. But when we get into the energy of the chasing and all of that, that is a direct dynamic that occurs in anxious and avoidant attachment styles. We've talked a little bit about attachment theory when I talk about dating in here, and I will do something a little bit deeper on anxious attachment. I will go ahead and link a book below about attachment theory called Attached. I've read that. There's others out there too, but that one's pretty good. It goes over how people come to these attachments, anxious, avoidant, secure, and then there's one that's kind of a mix of both anxious and avoidant, which is disorganized. So when we're in this space of talking about this, it's basically, so when you're feeling, black cat energy is something that a lot of times will be pushed out there to people who are in that space of feeling anxious, and they're trying to get an avoidant partner to come back to them. So they're basically saying, a lot of times they'll be like, leave space in between when you text, and don't, just leave people on red for days on end. And these kinds of things are just, I think if you're already doing that, like, you're not in a good space with somebody, and if somebody doesn't want to reach out to you or talk to you, and you're playing the game, and then like, oh, they didn't get a hold of me this day, so I'm going to wait 2 days to get a hold of them. Is that what you want to do? One. And two, that's a losing, like, they're obviously not that interested, and maybe just move on from that and find somebody who does want to have a volley, and go back and forth, and like put a bit of equal energy back and forth with each other. Because that's just, that will cause a dynamic in a relationship that I've seen things like this play out, where people get into very dysfunctional relationships, and it ends up coming to a bad end, or the whole entire relationship is just really tumultuous. So this is why I would say, if you're looking at black cat energy tactics in this way, it's just not, it's not going to be helpful to you. Now, some of the stuff that I was talking about in the early principles of black cat energy, and I have a feeling that maybe black cat, golden retriever dynamic in the beginning was maybe a little bit more benign, in just kind of like looking at, maybe people's personalities, how some people are a little bit more standoffish, and some people are a little bit more, high energy, and like, excited to jump in on things, as the golden retriever, versus the black cat that's a little bit more aloof, right? So I think maybe, it stemmed from a less manipulative place. But now it's just all over the place, and, I know it started quite some time ago, but people are still very much into learning about it, and it enters into this very divisive, and it makes us more divided. People who are trying to get into relationships and date and things like that, it makes us much more divided to start taking on these kinds of tactics, instead of coming to the table with really wanting to get to know one another, or, get to know somebody, and see if they're a good fit for you. It's just like, oh, I want this, so I'm going to play this game in order to get it. So where black cat energy gets it right in the principles and all of that is, yes, it's important for a person to have their own set of friends and hobbies, and maybe goals or things that they're working toward in their life, and they get enjoyment out of, they're okay with being on their own at times, and when they want to be with friends or family, they do that. And they have an independence about them, and, they don't get into, this gets into that whole thing of like decentering. They'll specifically say decenter men in your life and things like that. And yeah, well, we don't want to make anybody like the center of our life in terms of like dropping everything and your identity and all the things you care about just to make sure this, I mean, that doesn't make sense. So yeah, you do want to have some focus on your own life and everything, and have the things that you enjoy, because people sometimes lose their identity in relationships. So absolutely, that makes sense. But it's kind of like the pendulum swinging the other way, and it's like, both all people are being told basically, oh, don't get a hold of them, let them come to you. And nobody's going to come to anybody if we're all doing that. So, but again, where this gets it right is kind of like having your own life and everything. And so maybe everything is more on the natural side. The reason that you don't get in touch with someone's text right away is because you're actually doing something, you're busy, and then sometimes sometimes you text back and forth right on the spot, and other times, but you don't leave someone on read or purposefully just let the phone sit for hours because they text, and you're worried that the volley of the texts are not going to be in line, and you're trying to do a tactic. So I know, like, I'm sure you can see my point is pretty clear. I think that black cat energy is a bad tactic if you want to get to know someone for real. If you want to be real and upfront and not play a game and be in a bad dynamic and end up with a crappy relationship. Because I think we all, if you're watching my channel, we're looking at trying to get a certain kind of relationship that is like a teammate and a partnership. And black cat energy doesn't really have much of a place in it. In terms of, and I will say, with the YouTuber that I mentioned, Margarita, she and her partner were anxious and avoidant, but they also worked on their attachment styles. So they went to counseling to work on the problems that they had. So yeah, they could have had a bad dynamic in their relationship, and I think early on, according to her, it was quite difficult. So there you go. So I'm really hoping this is helpful, and I'd love to hear your take on this subject, black cat energy, golden retriever. Do you have thoughts on it? Do you think it's a good tactic? Have you used the tactic and gotten out of it what you wanted? Or did you find it to be something that was exhausting? Because frankly, I think things like this are exhausting, and you're not showing your true personality when you do something like this. And you're not, for me, things like that, it just prolongs a dynamic that isn't working. So I'm curious if that's been the same experience for you, or if you've had a different experience, and I'd love to hear more about it. So if you liked this, please subscribe, hit the bell notification, leave a comment. Check out in the bottom description box, I will have some information for you on attachment styles, as well as Margarita Nazarenko's YouTube channel. She's really fun. It's the Becoming Her podcast, and I think it's really helpful for people who are trying to build their self-esteem. I do find value in some of the stuff she has to offer. So I will see you next week. Same time, same place. Have a good one. Bye.